Hello, my great friend Asaf. Hello, Chris, out there, wherever you are in the world right
Yes,
now. And hello
hello
to
everybody. Yep.
Chris is with us in spirit, but he couldn't be here today live. And to all of our friends around the world who are joining us live and who will hear us later, it is great to be with you. We have a big topic today. One of the benefits of being a Kabbalist is that you begin to look at the world through a different kind of lens. Normally, we live like a dog.
Yes, at 1 second. There's a technical thing here. I hear there's a little bit of an echo. I think it's coming from your computer.
Okay.
There's something's playing. Like it's the show and it's playing somewhere on your computer. So mute it.
Okay. I don't have any windows open.
You sure?
Yep.
It's weird.
You still
I can
have it?
still hear it. Yeah. Um it's very mild. So
Hmm.
maybe it's coming from my
Okay.
end somehow. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't have the show open.
Okay, I think let me see here. I don't know, man. Let's go and
Okay.
let's
Yeah.
just
I mean,
ignore it
I
and
can leave and come back and then
yeah.
okay, if it's a problem, let me know.
Everybody on the chat, tell us where you're watching from as usual, and let us know if the sound is okay. Annie says the sound is okay, so I guess yeah. David also says they don't hear an echo. I do hear it, but if you don't hear it, then
Okay.
and our viewers don't hear it, then I guess we're good. Let's go.
Okay. So, we are here in the show called The Great Transition that we're going through. We live in such an amazing time. One of the things that's so incredible about this time is we have the benefit of all of this experience. If you're just, if you lived 300 years ago and you tried to explain to somebody that I'm going to sing a song here and somebody else in another country is going to hear me or see me live, you wouldn't be able to. It would sound like science fiction. It would sound far out. But because of our technology today, we can understand these kind of concepts. We can understand a concept that you can feel me even if we're not in the same place. So, because of humanity's development, what the wisdom of Kabbalah tells us in our generation becomes very clear and very empirical. It's not some kind of mysticism. It's not some kind of something that you'd need to believe. So here we are going through these changes, and that's what we want to. That's what we're doing here is discussing all of these changes that we see from the ground. Like I said at the beginning, that we're basically living like dogs. What do I mean by that? We wag our tail. We're super happy when we get a bone, when we get a treat, and we don't have one. We're whimpering until we get our next treat. And this is kind of how most of us live our whole life, just going around from, I feel empty, then I get something, and I feel empty, and then I get something. And that's actually 100% normal for little children.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how it
Thank you for clarifying that because I just heard you calling the world the world's
dogs.
population dogs. Yeah. So
Yeah, the Kabbalists actually call them, they don't call them dogs. Sometimes they do actually, but they mostly call them just beast. They just call everybody a beast.
right.
But what that means is that an animal lives by his desires. You may be offended by the word that the Kabbalists use as a beast, but it means that a person he has a desire for food. He follows a desire for food. He has a desire for money. He has a desire for honor. We're constantly just following our desires, which
So it's
is
it's so
normal.
it's a level of existence then that we all have in addition to our human level of existence, which needs to
Forget
be
about the human.
developed.
We don't know what it is yet. We didn't talk
All
about it
right.
yet,
All
but
right.
it's
So we're all
totally
dogs. We're all animals.
it's
Yeah.
beasts. It's totally normal
Mm-hmm.
for children. Okay, now here's the thing. Humanity, the same way that a person goes through changes in their life, and while you're going through them, when you're a teenager, you don't have any kind of perspective. When you become 40, 50, well, I'm not 50 yet, but when you get to your 40s, you can already start to look back on your life. And if you have teenagers, you can start to see the patterns. You're not in just that dog mode anymore. Even within the dog mode, you're kind of detached from the dog mode a little bit because you can start to see some patterns in the life. right? You see,
Right.
teenager
So
go through the
so
first
that's
heartbreak.
just by maturing, by growing up, you mean, that we develop this additional perspective on life, yeah?
Right. So
Okay.
the same way that a person, but most people live their entire life, they don't notice the patterns that are happening in their life. But if you're a Kabbalist, of course you do, because you're reading about this blueprint. And if you're a historian, you also do. And historians can tell you that in the same way that a person goes through changes in their
Mm-hmm.
life, from being a child to being a teen to being a young adult, an adult, an older person, the
Yeah.
same way humanity also goes through uh,
Right. Like a collective
these
maturity.
right. So
Yeah.
let's call the collective of humanity civilization. And we can say that civilization goes through very well defined cycles. It's normal, it's not abnormal. The same way that it's not abnormal for a teenager to start rebelling. In fact, you want the teenager to a certain point push away from the parents. If the teenager does not start to push away and wants to spend the rest of their life in the parents' house, you'd say there's kind of a
Yeah,
problem.
something's
So
wrong.
there's
Right.
normal forces that happen there. And if we learn to understand them and where they fit in the structure, we are actually happy when the teen talks back to us in a certain way. We're not happy that they're rude or something, but we're happy to see that this person has their own opinions. We're happy to see that this person is now going out into the world by themselves. So in the same way, humanity develops through these cycles from generation to generation. It is totally normal. And one of the main reasons, or the main reason, we suffer so much today, and why politicians and celebrities are not able to guide us, in short, they don't understand these cycles in the correct way. They don't
Mm.
understand these processes. They're like dogs. They see one thing that's happening today and they latch onto it or respond to it, or they see, maybe a few things out. So in a way, it's the accurate shape, I would say, is like a spiral. It's just not just a cycle, but it's a spiral, because it qualitatively, even though those same
Mm.
patterns are happening, they're
Yep.
qualitatively changing, right? So let's call it a
Right.
spiral. Okay. And also, while it goes through that spiral, there's also, we do say in the wisdom of Kabbalah, it's kind of coming to me now like this: there's two general forms that providence works on a person. There's this general thing, which is like this spiral that takes all of humanity and moves all of humanity through this spiral up. There's
Okay.
also this other cadence of this kind of left and right and left and right, the way we walk. And this simple knowledge
So
would
so
be
for
enough.
for advanced Kabbalists, you're talking about lines and circles in the wisdom of
Yeah.
Kabbalah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
So,
a igulim veyoshel for you Kabbalists out there. Okay.
Ken. So this, it would be enough to save humanity from so much of the problems we're going through, just simple understandings of what's happening. So if we look at this process, this right and left, this back and forth process, we see that humanity swings, civilization swings from a time of peace and prosperity, productivity, creativity, agricultural development, industrial development, technological development, and it's scientific development, and it swings back the other way. It was a lot of times we see, when economic disparity, like distance between the wealth gap, gets bigger and bigger, and then we
Mhm.
get all kind of societal upheaval and wars, and that is a reliable pattern. And now in the United States, we hit the end of that swing towards prosperity, and we're swinging back the other way. This is what I'm calling the decline of the American empire. It's really hard to feel it because, well, it's actually really easy to feel it and see it. We're going to show you a few examples, but we always identify like the dog. Like, here's my treat today. Where's my treat tomorrow? We're
Mhm.
not seeing these giant patterns. Like, how could it be? I grew up in America in the 80s, the 90s. What are you telling me? This country is like, not going to always be. All the movies aren't going to come from Hollywood. All my music, my famous music isn't going to come from Taylor Swift and whoever, right? That something could change like that. So I just want to show you some of the
And
things
even
that
beyond those cultural things, but just the dream, the dream that everyone aspires to in terms of how to make life good, how to make life better, how to achieve the pursuit of happiness, right? So is that not going to come from America, which has been the
right.
case in many ways for many people for a long time? Yeah.
So yeah, these are real, very real things and very serious things. Let me show you this. You should be able to see my screen in a second. Okay, you see that?
Yes.
22 weeks is from NPR. 22 weeks into the year, America has already seen at least 246 mass shootings.
Wow.
Okay. Everybody
It's
is
really
hurt.
inconceivable, the number. I mean, if you divide that by what, 6 months, that gives
Yeah.
you, how much is 246 divided by 6?
41.
41, and then divided by 4, so that's like 10
10,
plus.
10 and a half.
So 10 and a half mass shootings a week. That is
Yeah, I
ridiculous.
think mass shooting is more that you can, on Wikipedia, they list them all. It could be
Right, it could
just
be
four
just two
people.
people or just three people. Yes, sure.
Right. Right.
Wow.
But I don't want to get into the details, and there's so many interesting details. For example, there was this horrible shooting in Texas in a school. Right? I think 40 people actually were hit by bullets. I don't know how many died.
Hmm.
That's in the news, but in Chicago, every single weekend, there's mass shootings, which we don't see on the news at all. So I don't want to get into the politics of all this and gun control and everything. Just want to show that there is a phenomenon
Right.
that is happening,
And it's
regardless
way
of what's.
beyond what we're hearing about on a regular basis. Some things are
Yeah.
so routine that they don't even make the headline.
So
Yeah.
let's totally, as a group today here together, let's detach ourselves from our political opinion on guns. Let's detach ourselves from right and left and all that. Let's just look at some things that are happening to us here, and or that are happening in society. Just as we're just like taking a pulse, of what's going on. Here's something else.
Yeah.
There's another phenomenon in in California. There is something
I
called
can't see it right now if you want to
No, no, I'm not,
show
I'm
it.
not. I'm not showing you yet. There's
Ah,
something
okay.
called California Penal Code 459.5. It defines shoplifting.
Okay.
Shoplifting is defined as entering a commercial establishment with the intent to commit larceny while the establishment's open during business hours, where the value of property that's intended to be taken doesn't exceed $950. So
Wait.
what that means?
Okay, you
I'm
tell me what
getting
it means because I was just about to translate it
so
to
so
simple words.
basically,
Yeah.
if do you see my screen now? If
No.
Okay, so
Yes, now I do.
if you're taking less than $950, you won't be prosecuted. So these kind of scenes,
Yeah. Maybe mute it so we can talk over it.
look at this person walking by like it's normal.
Wow, that
So these
is
scenes, there's so many videos of like
wow.
this all over the place now. I'm getting them in my Twitter feed all the time of people just walking through stores and just taking stuff and walking out, and all kinds of stores. Okay, this is
And
happening.
again, that's at least in part due to this legal status that says if you
Let's not even
shoplift,
say,
okay,
forget about all the
okay,
laws.
okay,
It's tolerated. Something like this is happening. How do you keep
wow,
your business open? There's many stores that are closing because of this. People are coming in, taking cosmetics, taking household items, taking sneakers. Some of them are selling them. Some of them are taking it to use it. But there's a whole black market for all of these products that are sold inside the pharmacy or inside the sneaker store that are now being sold. People just go in, steal a couple boxes of shoes,
mm,
and then go out and sell them, for half price or whatever it is.
wow,
This is a huge thing now, and it's not just in California. I started seeing the videos originally in California. Now I'm seeing them all over. Next video I'm going to show you is something from New York City in the subway. I want to just make emotional impressions on you. Okay, so just let these things that you're going to see just have an emotional impression, and then we want to talk about this decline of society. So in this video here, you see this one
okay,
here?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I
this is
can
a
see
woman
it.
on a subway in New
Maybe
York. Now,
just
what's
maybe maximize the window though, just so we
okay?
can see more of it, or
Okay, so
just
what's going on here is
okay.
there's a woman in a subway. The guy next to her came, grabbed her hair, and he's holding on to her. See
Oh
that? He's holding
no.
her.
Oh
He's not
no.
letting her go. And you see all of these people around. Nobody's helping her. She's calling out for help. She's, please help me, help me. Okay. And he won't. He grabbed her, he started cursing at her, whatever. He grabbed her by the hair and sat her down. What is he going to do to her? Could you imagine you're in a subway and someone just grabs you? And look at how everyone is behaving
Wow.
around her. Okay. So I think at some point he, let's see what happens. I don't remember. She tries to get up. He's holding her. Could you imagine? What does she
Oh
think? Oh,
no.
he lets her go. All right. So I used to
That's
marvel
extreme.
at I used to marvel at New York City. Like, why isn't everyone just killing each other? Like everyone here is so different. Everyone's just walking around and everyone's kind of getting along, but it's starting to crumble. That agreement we had, we used to have an agreement in society,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not gonna hurt you, you're not gonna hurt me. We can both go out to the movies and enjoy the movie. You with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, me with mine, or with my kids, or whatever you got. Everyone can just do their own thing. We're going to agree, that I can go into a pizza shop and get a piece of pizza. I don't have to worry that someone's going to like spit on my pizza, or I don't have
Yeah.
to worry that I'm going to get shot when I go outside. There's a social agreement that I want to live in relative safety. You want to live in relative safety. We have an unspoken agreement that neither of us are going to unsettle that. It's breaking. That societal agreement
Oh,
that
it
we
totally
had
is. It
is
totally.
breaking.
It's not just in America, I have to say. Um, but wow, that these are some really, really striking examples you just showed. Yeah.
Yeah. So um, when the laws we don't know, is this influence of China, is this influence of someone else, is there something clandestine happening in here, is some other there was a KGB agent I saw did an interview a few years ago. I said most people think that espionage is mostly like James Bond style.
Mm-hmm.
You sneak in at night and whatever. He said, no, most of the work that we did was like influencing things behind the scene, like what's happening and what you're getting taught in school, what everyone's seeing on TV, what people are talking about in the news,
Right.
and things like that. That's how
So
you could really
it's like
disrupt.
hidden in plain sight. More
You make
more
neighbors
than
start to
yeah.
you make neighbors start to hate each other. You make people start to feel that the person next to them is not their friend. Now, we also, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, because we opened the show by talking about these cycles and about this cadence through time,
Yeah.
we don't consider whether it comes from the KGB or whether it comes from a bought off politician, or where how it manifests itself, because regardless, or whether it comes through King Charlemagne or Queen Isabella, or where it comes, or through Joe Biden or President Xi, Chairman Xi,
Yeah.
we don't care the clothing that it takes. What we're interested in seeing now, of course, when I deal with my life on my beast level, I have to. I live in a town. I live in a house. I don't want trash all over the street. I'm going to vote for someone in the local election who's going to make sure the trash is picked up, or who's going to teach, who says that in school we need to teach, I don't know what, how to get along with each other. We live in our normal life. When I say we don't care as Kabbalists, I'm talking about spiritually. We're looking at what is happening. How is nature manifesting, and where are we going towards? And what we see really, really clearly is that this process of the development of the human ego, that we can call the great American experiment or whatever we want to call it, is reaching the end of has reached its climax, and now a new process is underway.
That is that
Are there any
was
comments about this? Let me
On
open
the
the
chat, you
thing.
mean? I see
Yeah, do
a
people
lot of
think
comments,
I'm
but
nuts about this? Are we clear about this? Wow,
Annie
look at what
says,
Leon.
okay,
Go
hey,
ahead. Go ahead.
Leon, great to have you live with us here. I know you usually hear the show afterwards when you're commuting or something or running. Um, I Annie's comment got my attention. She says normalcy has been turned upside down. Not everyone can buy for free. You see, yeah, but yeah. What did you see from Leon?
So Leon said the town. I'm originally from Kharkiv, Ukraine.
Kharkov.
My town, Kharkov.
Yeah.
My town where I was born and raised until I was 9 got bombed. I had PTSD for months,
Wow.
and now he lives in San Francisco. And he said this is happening all the time. Anything up to $950, it's totally tolerated in the pharmacy and the grocery store. Security guards can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I see, and it's very, very common, and I see how people are commenting something about the Second Amendment or something about corporations. We are not interested in that as Kabbalists. We live as normal people, and of course, we have to deal with the normal things. But what we want to talk about here, let's put all of those things aside. They have nothing to do with what we're talking about. We want to talk about what is the inner structure of reality. We want to talk about the process that humanity is going through.
Yeah.
Where are we in that process? What do we do about where we are in that process? There's a time of the month where a dog, or there's a time of the year where a dog becomes, it goes into heat, right? That's the
Yeah.
time that dogs make puppies, because nature arranged a certain thing.
Yeah.
The dogs can do whatever they want at other times. It's not going to make puppies. Nature has a plan. If we can understand how those systems open, how those systems close, where we are in that, and stop with this childish things of, oh, well, the Democrats did this, or the Republicans did like this, or gun control this, or gun. No, if we understood what's happening, listen, you think you're so great. You're not you, a person thinks they're so great, thinks they're so smart. Okay. You can be the smartest person in the world. You could be Einstein. You're not doing that much when it comes to making a baby.
Right.
Nature's doing most of the heavy lifting there, right? To actually
Well,
create
yeah.
the organs and the
Yeah.
brain, right? What do you do compared to the intelligence of nature? Now take that example and apply it to everything you want to apply. Not you, I'm saying a person wants to apply about the laws and the corporations and the politicians and the inequity and all that. We're just doing so little. Nature is doing all the progression. And what happens for the Kabbalist who starts to experience these things, he starts to feel inside himself nature moving me through this left and through this right and through this spiral.
Right.
And that's what
So,
we
uh, yeah, go ahead.
this is what we want to convey here. That's what's unique about what we talk about, different than the other things that are being talked about. That special process. And if we can start to feel ourselves in that process, all of a sudden we have a totally different perspective on what's going on in the world. We start to feel completely different because we start to feel a different reality that it's not just my beast, but I'm it's one thing to perceive the patterns that are 100 years old or 500 years old, to perceive a pattern that's, I
Yeah.
don't know, what kind of pattern are we talking about here?
Yeah. I have something hopeful to say.
Okay.
But can we go with a bit of a hopeful vibe here? I have something hopeful to say, obviously based on the Kabbalistic perspective on this, but it also adds. I mean, it's hopeful on one hand, and on the other hand, it also adds responsibility. It adds of some level of responsibility that comes with this hopeful prospect. Um, if we study nature, and these are things you can even see from evolution, from biology, from uh, natural sciences, um, and we see it very clearly through a Kabbalistic lens. You see that all of nature, even not just human beings, advances that way, where, like you said, left and right, two opposite forces are continuously shaping the next level of life, the next level of evolution. And the next level of life is always an emergent phenomenon. It's always bacteria that could be fighting and colonizing each other for 1 billion years, and then something new from that friction comes about of these two opposite forces between them, the left and right, this interdependence on the one hand, and collision and clashes on the other hand. Ultimately, the bacteria, after 1 billion years, come together and create something completely new that no one can anticipate, and it has emergent properties, new qualities that don't exist on the individual level of the bacteria, and that is called the nucleated cell. And that's how, and that continues from the nucleated cell. They divide and they fight between themselves and go through a juvenile phase, and they create multicellular organisms, and so on and so forth. So the same process is happening with mankind. That's the hopeful part, that one way or another, we are moving towards progress. If you think that nature does anything for no reason, if you think that any of the evolution that we see and that we go through and that we experience as a human species has, has just to do with our man-made things and our man-made societies, that is just objectively wrong. We are all part of nature's program, whether we understand it or not, aware of it or not. How much we participate with in our consciousness with it, that's a different question. But clearly, we haven't invented the laws of nature. They govern us. It's a program that is happening through us, whether we like it or not. And the hopeful thing about it is we're moving forward, and we will ultimately rise to a new level, an emergent new level of human existence that will be based on us coming together in some new way, in some new shape and form. However, on the human level, as opposed to all the other levels, the still, the vegetative, the animate, the bacteria, the plants, the biosphere, fungal networks, whatever it is, all of the still, vegetative, and animate levels of nature, as opposed to them, the human has a unique opportunity, I would say. An opportunity. It's not like we're just by being humans, we have some privilege. But as humans, we have a unique opportunity, and that is that we, as far as we know, are the only creatures that are conscious of our own development over long time frames. We can relate to the program that is guiding our development. And because it is so, nature has given us an opportunity to be consciously involved in where it's pushing us. And that is what Kabbalists say could be the difference between a world war and a horrible, terrible, painful collapse of the American empire and in general the Western civilization until it reorganizes itself. Or it could be the difference between that, or we could take a conscious route where we begin to learn these laws of nature, see where the trend, where the pattern is taking us, and begin to embrace that future state of an emergent level of existence, of connection between us. And if we just aim our hearts and minds differently, and that it's not that simple. We talk about it as if it's nothing. It's like it requires education. It requires work. But if we do that, yeah.
When the new students come, they're always asking for, they think that there's some trick that we know.
like a fast, instant, do it yourself.
Like if I just combine the letters in a certain way, or if I have a certain visualization, or if I, do a certain thing. But I didn't want to cut you off. I want to just interject that point there.
Yeah.
You're talking about doing this work, but it's not that you're going to pay an extra $45 a month in Kabu, and we're going to tell you, it's up, down, right, left, right, up. There's not. It's like some secret code that you can just pay for. but it's a qualitative um, changing that's happening.
Yes, it's changing ourself. Ooh, that hits.
So let me
That
read something.
when you start hearing that, you go like, "Oh, that's what Kabbalah is about." I don't know. I don't know if I but that is what all of humanity are doing, whether we like it or not. Evolution means changing the creature. That is what is happening on the deepest level, which is our intention and perception of the world. That is what needs to change, going to change, will change. And if we are conscious about it and we can participate in this actively, then the change can happen in so much of a better way than this painful, full of war kind of route of development that we're on right now.
So
Yeah.
Bala Salam says that from the beginning of time unto the end, with regards to the souls, it's one generation. It's one group of souls that extends over thousands of years until it becomes fully developed. He says in the article, the piece, he says, "Let me present the opinion of the sages concerning the unfolding of the generations. Although the bodies change from generation to generation, it's only the
Mm-hmm.
case with the bodies, but the souls, which are the essence of the body self, don't vanish to be replaced, but move from body to body, from generation to generation." So this whole process and our whole perspective on things is moving more and more away from that dog consciousness, that beast consciousness, to understanding. And that's the already, just from this little knowledge here, this new perspective, you can already start to see everything that's happening in the world from a different place.
Yeah. Yeah, and these two opposite forces that we're up against all the time, that we're always dealing with, um, they appear in human society as interdependence on the one hand, that's growing and growing and growing, and today we've entered the era with the in this century, the era of global interdependence. What's happening in America is not just happening in America, it's happening everywhere, and it influences everywhere. The network is one. Humanity is connected across the globe. Everything that's happening has ripples throughout the whole network. Nothing is happening in one isolated place. That's growing. That force of interdependence, this trend of interdependence, is growing on the one hand. On the other hand, our egos, our individualistic perception of the world that is focused on this trying to basically take everything from the world to my benefit, that is growing as well. And so that inevitably leads to a collision. However, here's the why am I reiterating this concept of these two opposite forces? What we learn how to do in the wisdom of Kabbalah, in relation to what you just read from Baal Sulam, right, is to actively work with these two opposite forces inside of us in our relationship to the world. We do this consciously, intentionally, deliberately, actively. And by doing it like that, by putting ourselves in this effort of balancing the two forces within us, we prevent them from materializing in horrible, painful, slow ways in the outer world, in the rest of the network. And so the more of the human network converts the dynamic of these two opposite forces from the outside to the inside, the less wars, clashes, and conflicts we will need between
Right. So
us
what we see on the
externally.
outside from
Yeah.
all of the leaders is one side fighting against the other side. Oh, I have such a good clip I should show you. I'll explain it to you. The It's all the sides
Okay.
clashing with each other. This is what we see with all the politicians. It's what we see everywhere. It's what we see with every issue, right? There was school shootings right away. These ones are for gun control. These ones are for not. You know, whatever it is, right away, everyone picks their side of the fence, splits up,
Yeah.
and fights against each other.
Yeah.
And it takes so much time and pain to make it through that, and they won't be able to come up with a solution anyway. One side will get elected and put in their laws, and the shootings won't stop. And even if they took every single gun off the street, bombs will come next. And if it's
Oh
not
yeah,
bombs,
and
it'll be psychological warfare.
today, if a 10-year-old with internet, can figure out how to make a bomb using materials they can get from a grocery shop, and they don't even have to pay
Right.
for it because they can just, under $900 probably they can get it.
Steal
They
it.
can just
Exactly.
steal it.
So
Yeah.
nature is pushing us to the point, to this emergence point, where we're going to see that unless we finally go through some transformation, no one's going to be safe. No one's going to be okay. And that's that, as you were just explaining, we can now understand, begin to learn, how do we go through. We can't stop that progression. How can we go through it internally? That's what we want
Yes.
to talk to you about.
Okay, so you know what? There's this video that Chris found, and we watched it, both of us. Let's play this video from Jordan Peterson, right? Let's play a few seconds from it and talk about that a little bit, and it just goes straight into our discussion to where it is
Okay.
now. Okay, so
You
this
ready?
is a bit. Wait, before you play it, so I'll just say a few words. So this is a video from Jordan Peterson. If you're not familiar, Jordan Peterson is a very famous intellectual from Canada, actually. And he talks about many things, but here he expresses, you know what, let's watch a few seconds and then I'll say a few more because we're not going to
Okay.
watch the whole thing. Yeah.
God lift from me the intolerable burden of my ignorance, arrogance, willful blindness, bitterness, and resentment. As I pray that others rise above the same faults and temptations. I watched Fox News release a message.
Okay, so yeah, so he's, as you can see, he invokes something that feels like a prayer here, a prayer to God.
Hey, where are
Uh,
you going with this?
and what he's talking about is, just because we're not going to watch the whole thing, I'm just going to share with our viewers who may have not watched it. So he focuses on political division. He talks about how the news channels are pushing their own agendas, and it's very clear that one channel is pushing you against these guys, the other channel is pushing you against those guys. And his main point is that what we really should be focused on? The enemy, the other person, they are bad, they are good, we have to fight and so on. Or, and that's what his main point is, we have to look into ourselves, and inside of us we will identify who is the real enemy, what is the real enemy, our evil, as he calls it there, and we have to stop blaming each other before it's too late. And again, it's all kind of wrapped in somewhat of a religious vibe, even, you can say.
Yeah, when
And
I'm in,
yeah,
oh, go ahead. No,
no,
tell me.
you go.
When I'm in my zone, I can relate to what he's saying. I can appreciate it. I've heard some of his things, um, and because I've read Kabbalistic texts, I've heard certain words that sound like prayers and things like that. But when I want to go to the world with a message, it's hard for me to listen to this. I cringe a little bit about it because it has this whole religious overtone about it, which makes it feel, I don't
Like
know.
something that was already tried and didn't work, or something like
Yeah,
that.
like yeah, Europe a few hundred years ago, or
Oh,
something like, God lift my burden and I shall, be thy messenger
right.
to,
Okay.
whatever.
So
But I
people,
did I did emotionally react to what he said. I
yes.
thought it was powerful, but the clothing on it,
Hmm.
it's not universal enough for me. It can't reach where it needs. The sentiment I agree with, but what do you make of?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first question we should ask ourselves is, we should answer, is really, people might ask, people who watched this video, the whole thing, and again, as you said, it does hit you in a strong emotional place, right? But people might ask, isn't that what you Kabbalists are talking about also? Isn't it the same thing? Look into yourself. Your ego is the only thing that needs fixing. If each of us turns their attention to their own ego, that's what we need to do, right? What's the difference? Doesn't it sound like very close to what the wisdom of Kabbalah is talking about? So let's put our our minds together for a second just to answer that. Um, this is this is where this is what this piece is missing from a Kabbalistic perspective. This ego that is growing within us, that is undoubtedly making us see our faults in the other and blame the other and inciting us against each other. This ego is a force of nature. It's part of the evolutionary program. And by the way, Jordan Peterson, who understands evolution very well and has written about it from his psychological perspective, I'm sure can understand this. The growth of the ego is required for evolution to occur. It is purposeful. It has a natural reason. And the reason is, like we said a couple of minutes ago, that nature creates higher levels of being. Higher levels of being mean that on the one hand, they become more interdependent, more connected, right? Cells connect to tissues, connect to organs, connect to organ systems, connect to organisms, connect to collective organisms. Yes, but on the other hand, what makes these higher and higher levels of beings more complex is that the individual parts become more individual, more diverse, more different,
Right,
and
I'm not just a
therefore more.
jellyfish.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Beethoven.
Exactly. If you there's an interesting phenomenon, for example, that you can see in what scientists call spontaneous synchronization. This is a very interesting phenomenon, right? That you see if you put a few metronomes on a moving platform, give it a few seconds, and they synchronize. Somehow they, using the laws of physics, they communicate and they share the physical forces in such a way that they start ticking exactly at perfect synchrony, but they're all doing the same things. So this is synchronization on, yeah, thank you. This is synchronization, right? So within less than a minute, they will synchronize. This is synchronization on the level of the still. They all do the exact same thing. What happens when your 50 trillion cells in your body, they too synchronize. This too is called spontaneous synchronization, according to science. Right? That's how they call it. But what happens there is a lot more complicated. In your body, the cells are doing completely different tasks. They have a different shape. They even have a different language. Think about the parallel to humanity, right? They have the cells communicate different with the body, different chemicals, different kind of hormones, and so on. So every cell in your body or groups of cells are very different, and yet, despite all that diversity, or with all that diversity and differences, and even opposite actions and functions, the body is a magnificent machine. They still synchronize on a higher level. And we humans are even more complex than the cells in our body. Of course, we have different views. Of course, we hate each other. That's what I'm saying here.
And
Of
if
course,
you
you
thought
hate
this was a
it.
good deal, we have more.
Yeah,
Not,
exactly.
not only not
Yes,
only
that's
is
the
this
vibe.
good, there's even better news.
There is,
This can be
yes.
yours because you don't really have to do much. Nature is really doing everything. We don't have to fight against anyone. We don't need to invent any more technologies. All we need to learn how to do is how to integrate better. And the same way that a man and a woman come together and a Beethoven comes out, what really did Mr. and Mrs. Beethoven do versus what nature did? Right? Even their monkey grandparents, 1,000 generations before, or however many generations before, what did they contemplate that they could possibly do that a Beethoven would eventually come out as their great 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 grandkid? Right? In the
Right.
same way, we don't. Oh, this can be yours for one low price of loving the other. We don't need to invent it. We don't need to create. All we need to do is come together in the right way and let that intelligence of nature, which we understand how it moves in the spiral and how it moves in this procession. All we have to do is put ourselves into that system and let that intelligence work on us. And all of a sudden, we are in a new emergent reality.
Yes. Okay, you know what? One maybe we can add even one more block here
Do it.
if we got that deeper, and then we'll go to another thing. So he finishes that prayer. I can't remember the exact words, sorry, but it's something to the effect of, let's awaken love and friendship and community and so on. And the one more piece I want to add to it is exactly relating to what you just said, and relating to the emergence of a higher level of connection between us. We don't know what love is. That's why we can't just do it. We can't just start loving each other. We can try, and the attempt is great, but there has to be an expectation, an anticipation. If you want, call it a prayer. Doesn't matter. It's just that prayer has a religious connotation to it. But we have to develop a desire. According to Kabbalah, a prayer simply means the innermost desire in your heart. That's all that it means. We have to cultivate a desire to experience each other on a deeper level of connection. How exactly will that manifest? What does it exactly mean that you love all of humanity? That is to be discovered. And you discover it when you start practicing Kabbalah, for example. Starts from a very blurry sense, and then through conscious collisions with the people who study with you, through practicing it, you begin to clarify and sharpen that sense, just like you sharpen a tool, or just like you rub two sticks together until there's a fire that comes out. But the fire is a new phenomenon. And that is what's happening to us as people who practice the wisdom of Kabbalah. In each and every state, we before it appears to us, you don't feel the next degree. You have to discover it each time. Each time you feel that you are suddenly more hateful of the world, of people, of the people who study with you mostly. You feel like you can't connect to other people. You feel like, how could it even be that I'll care about them? Even though maybe a week ago or a day ago or a second ago, you felt complete love towards them. But the cycle continues, evolution continues, the left and right, the two opposite forces. Ego has to grow, because that's how we grow love, on top of the ego. And that is the big thing that Kabbalah gives you such a clear perspective of. And this is in nature. We can see this, in nature as a pattern that repeats itself again and again. So to conclude, I do want to say, just to give credit to Jordan Peterson. Nevertheless, I think it is good that more and more intellectuals and people who have platforms where they can approach people. It's definitely a good thing. It's definitely a positive thing that people promote the idea that we have to think about the correcting ourselves versus correcting the other, and that we have to build a desire, or call it a prayer, for it. But it's insufficient. We need more. We need education about the laws of nature, and we need to practice it daily, regularly. This needs to become common practice everywhere, not necessarily in the form of Kabbalistic studies, but just the study of human connection. That is the new field of science, if you will, that we will have to develop, and it will have to become common practice everywhere. Universities, schools, workplaces, the media, whatnot. Anyway, that's where we're going. Yeah, go ahead. I went a little...
As it says, your soul will teach you. It's not that you'll just read a line, because everything we said here, we could just watch how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly and just teach that to everyone on earth, and that should be enough, right? But it's not, because without this emotional component that goes alongside of it, we don't have any fuel to move, and that's what this whole thing entails. I sent you a text, a photo, a screenshot.
Oh, that was you? Was you? Wasn't Chris?
No, I said.
Okay, that was okay. I'll put it on.
Could have been Chris. We're kind of one and the same person, but
here we go.
Yeah, exactly. So this guy Lex Friedman, he works at MIT. He also has a pretty cool podcast. He interviews a lot of very interesting people. He's what's AI, artificial intelligence
Hmm.
expert or something at MIT, I think, something like that. So
Yeah.
he wrote this tweet, and he's had Elon Musk on his show speaking about him. Everyone knows who Elon Musk is. So I thought this was a cute tweet, and I really thought that, wow, I wish these guys would come
Let's
talk to
read
us.
it.
But
Let's read it out
okay,
loud.
so because it's funny, this is what we talk about all of the time. I don't think we've anyway. Yeah. So Lex writes, "What's outside our universe? Is it possible for humans to ever know this? Can a video game character ever learn what's outside the game? I'm eating an apple outside 7-Eleven, which is like a little convenience store,
Yeah.
at 4:40 a.m. pondering this. Who am I and why am I here?" Elon Musk replied, That is what that is why I need to have billions of dollars to go to Mars. That is why we must expand the scope and scale of consciousness. No, okay. We must expand the scope and scale of consciousness so that we may learn the answers to these questions.
Okay.
And how
So
are we going to expand the scope of consciousness?
in
By going to
by
Mars.
going to Mars. Yeah, the no, I think again, credit where credit is due. It's great that people who have, some
Yeah.
following and so on are bringing up these important questions. You know, do you think they have what we Kabbalists call a point in the heart, which is that awakened desire to actually discover the answers to these questions?
You know, I don't know how to. I would say no. Maybe they do. I think that I see these guys talking all the time. I'm like, oh, they're right. It's right there. But the
Yeah.
search, maybe it's hard to. There's an expression we have in English. I don't. But you can't put the wolf in charge of the hen hound.
Oh,
The
okay.
hen
Yeah,
house or
I get
something like
that.
that.
I get
If
that.
your whole job and you're like the richest man in the world
Yeah.
is like based on like shooting rockets into space and stuff, it's unless you're very, very honest with yourself, it would be hard to spend a lot of time on anything else besides the thing that you're completely invested in, 20 hours a day and probably even dream about. So it's probably really hard for him because it would require so many changes. Um,
Mhm.
maybe, but potentially, maybe not. But what's cute about it though
Yeah.
is I think I told you this. So that book that I wrote, "You Are Here," based on those articles of Bala Sulam, I
Yeah.
did a post on social media saying, the structure of reality that we receive from the Kabbalists, that, from before time, space, and motion, before the Big Bang. And somebody commented like, look at this idiot. He thinks he knows what happened before the Big Bang or something like that. I didn't even realize that what I was saying was preposterous to most people, because as Kabbalists, how
That's
much
like
time did we spend
that's like basic knowledge that you've
every
learned from.
single night? We
Yeah,
study
and
Talmud, to study the 10
that
Sfirot, and the whole thing
2,000
is what
pages of
happened
the whole structure of the upper worlds.
of before the Big Bang.
Exactly.
Right?
No,
So
but
it's like to us,
but
it's
it's
so
very
normal.
clear. It's very clear why people who have no clue about these sources and this whole wisdom and what it is and how it works. It's very clear that for them it'll be like an immediate knee-jerk reaction. Oh, that's preposterous. That's understandable. You know what? Okay, here's what I would tell Lex and Elon in relation to this nice, cute Twitter discussion that they had. These are people. They're very smart. They're very smart. They're very intelligent, and they are also they're very scientifically and technologically inclined. The one is an AI expert, the other one is an everything expert, whatever you call it, and no doubt you can't take that away from them. But here's what I would say from a Kabbalistic perspective: the when we think about, like Lex was asking there in the tweet, who am I? What am I doing? What is my purpose in the universe? Right? When we're asking that question, why not? If you are a scientist, why not apply the scientific method to this very exploration? Why not, and not by trying to go outside of yourself, to go to build a rocket, go to Mars, and then you have more people in the galaxy, like spanning in farther places of the galaxy. Why not go deeper into this question and empirically begin to explore where it's coming from. Does it exist in every person? What is it? And is it developing in humanity? That is what Kabbalists are doing. We're not believing anything. We're not using faith to push the world to a higher, more advanced state. This question that these guys have, like Lex is bringing up, and Elon, resonates with it, is the very question that reflects the developing sense in a human being that we as Kabbalists know is a new sense. It's just unlike the other senses, seeing, hearing, taste, touch, all the five senses. Unlike those senses that you get with your body and they develop instinctively, this one needs conscious development. That's the whole difference. That is the whole difference. And so in the beginning, every person has it as a potential. That's why if you take every child in this world, most likely at some form, at some age, in some form, maybe even not expressing it correctly or accurately, they ask, what am I doing here? What is happening? Mommy and daddy typically don't know what answers to give, and that's why the sense doesn't develop.
Here's the iPad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, TikTok. Go to TikTok. It's like, that's. But
Here's
really, but really, this is a sense that exists in potential, in its embryonic phase of development in every human being. All we need to do is start exploring it, start developing it. And then what you find is that it unfolds in people who focus on it. They discover a map that they can compare and say, look, I felt this too. This is called like this is called like that. Oh, look, we've explored this desire so much that it unfolded into a whole map of a set of laws of nature about how this sense develops that people can't see, that if they don't explore it as well, because they don't have the sense. So that is what I would somehow communicate. I don't know if I would be able to put that in a tweet, though.
Do you think they have pointed heart? What's your feeling about it?
I would say, like you, that similar, that every person has it in potential. Is it really awakened? I don't want to. Maybe in one of them more than the other. Let's stop there. I don't know them well enough, and but here's the one thing. If we had an opportunity to have a conversation with them or one of them, I think it would be really interesting. Maybe in the future. Yeah, man. I want to throw another thing here. For those who do feel what we're talking about and have this point in the heart awakened in them and already are working on developing that, even just by connecting to our show here or following our material, our content on Kabbalahinfo YouTube channel or our Facebook channel, we have a special event that's coming up. Everyone should know about it. This is a real opportunity for people to experience the hardcore practice of Kabbalah in a one-off kind of opportunity. So if you're watching our content, you're watching our videos, you like it, you're interested, and you're not a KabU member, which is our online university, that is perfect for you. If you are a KabU member, that's also perfect for you. But if you're not, I think that's going to be
So if you're in KabU, you'll probably get
an
an email, or you get something already, or in one of your classes, someone will send you something, right?
And if you're not, then I'm going to copy a link and post it right now in the chat, and everyone can go and check it out. This is a one-day virtual event. You need to clear your Sunday or most of your Sunday for it. June 26th. Free admission is free. It's on a pay whatever you wish kind of basis. If you want to help the cause, you're welcome to donate. If you can pay zilch as well, and we're absolutely fine with that. We've built and designed this event to really be an experience of Kabbalah, not just consumption of content, but experiencing it with other people on that day. So definitely take advantage of the opportunity. Come be with us. It should be great. And it's also one of a kind. We're trying something new here. It's completely virtual. The last event we had was a hybrid event, was both physical and virtual, and it was mostly for the existing Kabu students or entirely. This one is really, really a great opportunity for those who are not Kabu members, and it's all virtual. And just go to the link and check it out.
We'll be there.
Yes, both of us will be there, and it should be fun. All right, man. Concluding words.
You made me feel much better about the decline of the American empire. I wasn't sure if I needed to move to find a nice, clean city somewhere in the Far East to live out my sunset years, but no, I'm going to focus on my spiritual development, and let's see what kind of transformation we can go through. Thank you again, Chris. If you are listening, wherever you are, I hope all is going well, and we will be back next week, 2 p.m., to talk about the transformation that humanity is going through, the last generation of the corporeal development into our good collective future together for everyone.
Let's do it, everybody. 2 p.m. Eastern next Thursday. Bye.
Beyond the border, there's a song that plays, and in our hands we have a choice that waits. Together, right?